children or kids to be rapists?
Random Patriot here. I wanted to share this quick video. It's going to be my first video, and it's not going to offer a lot in the way of graphics or fancy editing. It's just going to be a commentary. I'm going to talk about this video that was uploaded to InfoWars earlier today. It is it was taken at an anti-Trump rally. I'll link to the full video down there, and then I want to talk a little bit at the end of the video about Mexico, about the government in Mexico, about what it's like for the average Mexican person in Mexico. Okay, but first I want to talk about this guy. Let's go.
So this guy has a very sensational son. Sir, do you mind if I ask you what brought you out here today?
The First Amendment right to protest.
Look at him.
All right, you take a look at your shirt and at your sign here. So you got the F Trump shirt and also Trump for KKK, or KKK for Trump. What is your beef with Donald Trump?
Well, number one, I think he's a manifestation of the media. I mean, we have a reality star that's running for president. I mean, who's next? Kim Kardashian or Justin Bieber? That's pathetic. I mean,
no, you're pathetic because Trump is not a reality star. Trump was a successful businessman, hundreds of successful companies way before The Apprentice was even thought of. This guy is calling Trump a reality star. If that's all you know him for, then you don't really know him. You haven't looked into him. To compare him to Kim Kardashian, that's not fair. If the only thing Trump had ever done in his life was come out on The Apprentice, I highly doubt we'd be voting for him right now. People are voting for him because they see his other successes, his successful businesses. Yeah, he has a couple failures, maybe 8, failed business ventures, but he has overall hundreds of successful business ventures. So overall, he's extremely successful. So to just boil him down to a reality star, I don't think that's very fair of this guy.
really is. And I mean, he says anything just to pander to any crowd. So he's at Liberty University, and
okay, no, he's not pandering to you. So he's not just saying anything to pander to any crowd.
he quotes Corinthians 2 or whatever, so I mean,
as far as policy, what's his policies that you can't get with?
Well, I know that he'd revert back to the essence of tax cuts, okay, for the wealthiest.
What is the essence of tax cuts for the wealthiest? It sounds pretty vague, very non-specific. Yeah, Trump is in favor of cutting taxes for everybody. That does include wealthy people, people who have earned their money, legitly. Trump has also talked about shutting down those loopholes that allow people to store their money overseas. Why doesn't this guy talk about that?
Cutting trade embargoes, shipping out jobs. I mean, he says he's for American jobs, but all of his clothes that's made is made in China. So he's a hypocrite when it comes to that standpoint.
Okay, that doesn't make sense. I mean, I guarantee you everybody in this crowd here has stuff that was made in China. That's what Trump is talking about, is that you can only get these things from China unless you want to pay an insane amount of money, because the markets are so rigged right now. And what he's going to do is he's going to open them up so that businesses can manufacture clothes in America and still make a profit. This guy doesn't understand that.
So.
All right. Anything else?
Oh, no, there's plenty of other things. His xenophobia, his racism, overt racism, and not being able to walk away from David Duke or any other white supremacists that endorse him.
Okay, he's saying xenophobia and racism like if it's a fact, when it's not. It's just speculation. And he's talking about David Duke. This is pathetic when people bring this up, because David Duke left the KKK over 30 years ago. David Duke renounced the KKK. Yeah, David Duke is racist, but he's non-violent. So I'm not scared of him. I don't know why this guy is scared of him. I don't know why other people are scared of him. And then Trump even renounced David Duke. So that's even another level of renouncement on top of already all the renouncements from before. How much more does Trump have to apologize in order for this guy to, to accept that Trump is not a racist?
So I mean, and the violence laced at his rallies.
Bernie supporters.
So, sir, I will challenge you on that point. We've seen people like Hillary be endorsed by Klan members as well.
I mean, I agree with that. Those are just trolls. I mean, real.
You see there? when it comes to Trump, and when David Duke endorses Trump, this guy's up in arms. He's gonna go out and stand outside for hours with his Trump sign. But when Klan members endorse Hillary, when she says she loved Robert Byrd and he liked her and he's a known Klans member, oh, they're just trolls. That's nothing. That's just people trying to sully the good Clinton name.
I mean, okay, so if you look at the history of, because I teach history. Okay.
Oh God. He's a teacher. Wow. Okay, he teaches history. This guy is teaching youth. I think we need to find out what school this guy's teaching at. If he's out here wearing an F Trump T-shirt and he's a teacher, he's representing that school even when he's not on the clock. Yeah, I think they should look into it, especially if he's teaching in elementary school.
So conservatives oppose the Declaration of Independence because they didn't want to give up their power.
Wrong.
Okay. Donald Trump. But you look at the civil rights area, who was opposed to it? Conservatives. Who opposed to free and slavery? Conservatives.
Wrong.
Who was opposed to allowing women to vote? Conservatives.
Wrong.
Okay. So
completely wrong. This guy's whole mindset, his whole attitude is that it's conservatives. That's just it. When you ask him what's wrong with the world, conservatives, it's his automatic. Oh yeah, the conservatives were if anything, the conservatives were the ones who fought in the Revolutionary War. People who strongly believe in freedom. People who strongly believe in being left alone by the government.
paying for public education. They try to dismantle public education. I'm a public education teacher, and they're constantly trying to dismantle it. They've tried the idea of vouchers. Now they have charter schools. All it does is hurt education. I mean, and I teach this in my world history class. It's the movie Bug's Life. It's the ants versus the grasshoppers. The problem is you get people to think that they're grasshoppers, but they're really ants.
Did he just say that he teaches his class that the world is the movie A Bug's Life, and that we're all ants, and that there's some evil grasshoppers out there that are trying to kill us, and they convince people to be ants? Well, first of all, in the movie there weren't any ants that thought they were grasshoppers, so I don't know where the correlation to that comes in, but he's teaching a whole bunch of kids that they're ants, that they're little ants. I mean, shouldn't you be teaching them that they are grasshoppers, that they're as powerful as anybody? And this guy's telling them that they're just little ants to be stepped on, or to be part of a collective and to just follow, the mob.
Okay, and I like some of the things that you guys do on InfoWars, but I think some of it can be a little bit lunacy, so I listen to some of the things that you do, and I believe a lot of the things, but at the end of the day, Hillary's going to appoint a Supreme Court justice, possibly up to 4, that's better for America, better for workers, better for my son, better for the air that they breathe, the water that they drink. Okay, so that in the end, okay. Yes, President Obama's gone, but he appointed 2 Supreme Court justices. He's going to appoint a 3rd to protect Hillary. He really is. So, Okay,
so that's really, really strange. A Hillary supporter who says that he agrees with a lot of InfoWars news. I didn't think that was even possible for you to still like Hillary Clinton and to even acknowledge that InfoWars is even a reputable news source. I didn't know that you could do both of those things at the same time. I guess this guy really is selective in his information about the police brutality, which InfoWars is known for. I think they championed, they were kind of the spearhead on exposing police brutality. And Alex Jones back in the 90s talked about how the police state was going to rise, and people didn't listen. And if people would have listened, we wouldn't be at the point we're at now. They don't like that anti-Hillary stuff. So here's what what I wanted to talk about. They have the Mexican flag there. You see the Mexican flag, people waving the Mexican flag. You know, they're very proud of the Mexican flag. I've actually been to Mexico, and maybe some of these people have too, and Mexico's not a good place. And so there's a lot of nice people there, but it's really poor. It's really dirty. There's a lot of dirt roads. I've seen whole shanty towns where just houses are built out of cardboard, you know, and random wood that people found and scavenged, and you know, they're using like old discarded tires for like stairs to go up to their, you know, cardboard house that they have a family of 4 in. It's really sad considering that the richest man in the world lives in Mexico, yet they have some 60 million people living in poverty. And these people, these Hispanic people, I'm Hispanic, okay, and these my fellow Hispanic people who are coming over here, they don't understand how good this place is and how bad that place is, the place that we left from, how terrible Mexico is. We should be burning the Mexican flag. We should be throwing the Mexican flag in the trash, not proudly waving it. Other thing that I wanted to bring up, how Mexico actually has the highest amount of hours worked per worker than any other country since 2008. They were only edged out by Korea for a couple years, but overall Mexico actually works. Mexican people work more hours than any other country in the OECD. And that says a lot. You know, the Mexican people were hardworking. We believe in having multiple jobs, you know, supporting ourselves. And then you see this, you know, you see that Mexico's working more than any other nation, yet it's the poorest nation in the OECD. Get that? It's the hardest working nation in the OECD, yet it's also the poorest nation. I mean, the most percentage of people living in poverty is in Mexico. The average Mexican wage is about $7 a day, $8 a day. And they come over here and we're getting paid in California $10.50 minimum wage. I saw this market in Los Angeles and they were paying their workers $5 an hour. And you would think that's bad. For an American, that's bad. $5 an hour. Most of us wouldn't work for $5 an hour. It was grueling labor. Okay, but imagine if you're coming from a country where the average wage is $5 to $7 a day. You're gonna be damn happy to work for $5 an hour, especially if you can work 10, 12 hours in the day. You're gonna do it, and they do it. That's why so many of them are coming over here. And the problem is they're not appreciating how good America is compared to Mexico. Okay, Mexico is a shithole. Okay, Mexico is not a nice place. It's a beautiful country. Don't get me wrong, there's some magnificent land and there's some really, really nice people. There's some beautiful beaches. There's some nice cities. There's the pyramids. There's a lot of nice things. But overall, there's extreme, rampant corruption. I mean, the corruption is just out of control. And people need to think about that. They need to think about how good America is. We need to appreciate it. If you're gonna come here, you should appreciate it, and you should appreciate that you have a citizenship. And I personally believe that that's what Trump is all about. He's about making an American citizenship worth it again. Because right now, an American citizenship basically means nothing. If people can just come over here and get a job and get multiple jobs and have a home and do the whole thing and live the American dream without ever having to get a citizenship. That needs to change. That needs to be fixed. And people want to make up wild assertions, and they want to call Trump a xenophobe and a racist just because he's trying to fix America and he cares about American citizens. But at the end of the day, that's literally all they have, is just wild assertions. Calling somebody a racist to just work up somebody else so that they don't even look at the facts. So that they don't go and look that in Mexico at the end of 2014, nearly 25 million people were worth an average of $80.